I just pressed the Let's Go Live button. It's a beautiful Thursday. And as per usual, we got to wait until the tubes fire up all across the fruited plain of the internet. Before we go ahead and get started, we got some trial activity to attend to. We've got some closing arguments in store. Let's make sure we're alive on the locals, the rumbles, on the YouTubes, the telegrams, on the X, all across the fruited plain. That is tremendous. It looks like we're alive and well. That means we can go ahead and get started as soon as I make that full screen and adjust that there and zoom in on that. Let's do it, shall we? Hello, my friends, and welcome back to yet another episode of Watching the Watchers Live, the show that spotlights misconduct involving police, prosecutors, and politicians. My name is Robert Govea. I'm a criminal defense attorney, and today we are talking about Donald Trump's closing arguments in the civil fraud trial brought by Letitia James, the biggest AG in New York. And so we're going to get into this because Donald Trump was there. They told us, pursuant to Judge Engoron's prior order, that Trump was not going to be testifying. But Donald Trump overruled Judge Engoron and said, hey, I'm going to be speaking. Don't you know who I am? And Judge Engoron couldn't help himself, was actually so excited to hear from Donald Trump that he overruled himself. And Donald Trump ultimately ended up making a statement, and apparently he was cut off as well. And so we're going to get into all of it. Trump spoke before he walked into the courtroom. As you can see, we've got that clip. There was apparently an explosive, problematic device that was alleged to have been going towards Judge Engoron. And so we'll give an update on that story. He was under attack this morning. We also remind ourselves who Letitia actually is, because she also visited the White House. She was also hanging over there with, this one looks like, the president. So Letitia was hanging out with Joe before or while all this stuff was percolating against Trump. CNN was out saying that they admit, she's pretty biased. She was actually running against Trump. That was the whole basis of her campaign. She was fundraising on it, the whole thing. We talked about this for months now. So they admit it. And before we get into all that, we're going to hear from Trump. We're going to look inside the courtroom, and we're going to then jump in to the X script, courtesy of our friend Inner City Press at Inner City Press on the X platform. Does a great job. He was there. He was reporting live. And so we'll see what happened inside the courtroom for Trump's closing arguments. We'll see what Trump said, and then we'll leave it there. We've also got Trump after the closing arguments. He came out, made his statement, and he also made another big statement after the lunch break, essentially. And so we'll go into all that. We'll see how Trump rounded it out, and it will be something we can attend to. So we'll get into it. We've also got in our second segment an update that Fani, the biggest DA in Georgia, in Fulton County, Big Fani, she evidently colluded with the January 6th Select Committee, the so-called committee that was illegally constituted because they didn't have the even requisite number of members that they had said that they were going to have in HR 503, which was the legislation that authorized the committee. But rules be damned, they don't care about any of that. So the J6 committee, which was supposed to be separate, remember Fani's case was supposed to be independent. She did her own due diligence, and she wasn't coordinating or collaborating or conspiring with the White House at all. No, she was doing it on her own. Well, that's curious because we know Nathan Wade had already billed the White House for 16 hours of time, $4,000. 2 times they met with the White House counsel before Trump was indicted. And Fani was also meeting with Kamala. So we've got multiple points of evidence to show that there was a lot of collusion here. And what happened as a result is Marjorie Taylor Greene has come out and is now arguing that there should be a criminal complaint lodged against Fani Willis, like charge her with a crime, for defrauding the state of Georgia out of $1 million by giving it to her alleged lover called Nathan Wade, who is the special counsel who has no experience with RICO cases at all. No, not even prosecuting felony cases. So they put him in charge of, a case against the former president. Oh my gosh. So we'll go into all of that. Now, the weirdos on The View, they had Liz Cheney on, who of course basically ran that January 6th committee. And they said, Liz, save us. We need you to run for president. And she's like, I know, America's in peril. And so we'll listen to her. And then we'll go over to these two yahoos, the only two who are left, evidently. who are on, the media's radar. They don't care about Vivek or anyone else. But here, Nikki Haley was out slamming Trump, even though she basically agrees with Trump. She's like, wow, Joe Biden won the election, but there were some irregularities. And so she skips over that one. And Ron DeSantis is saying that just, by the way, the Democrats are going to take out Trump. And so that's why you should just abandon him and just give in to the Democrats' playbook and just let him take out Trump. And so you can have me. I'm going, oh, gosh. Now, Vivek said he thinks these two are going to be colluding together, that Ron's going to be the VP of Nikki Haley. Well, we'll see about that. So we're going to go into that all in the second segment. And then to wrap up the day, we got some Hunter Biden updates because he had federal court today. Hunter showed up for his tax charge arraignment in California. And we're going to see what it looked like. You can see police, Secret Service, his little entourage was motoring in. And there were some interesting things because yesterday, Hunter did his little, congressional stunt where he was showing up and surprising everybody. Surprise, I'm here to not answer questions again and to violate the subpoena again. What are you going to do about it? Nothing? Okay, bye. And then left. And so we're going to see what happened today. Now, there was an interesting thing happening. He was apparently flying public commercial with the rest of us. We're thinking, that's weird. Isn't he used to flying around on, private jets and all the things? So he was caught, photographed in the airport. And we're asking ourselves, is some of that money drying up, or is this part of Hunter Biden's documentary? Yeah, because something happened yesterday that we didn't catch the first time around. This guy came waddling in there with like a full recording setup, and people are saying maybe that's a videographer who also made his way in, because the dude who is sitting next to Hunty Poo is Kevin Morris, this guy, this, Hollywood mogul or whatever. So, the question was, who is that other videographer? Some people saying Netflix and stuff like that. So it's the Netflix thing. Is that for Hunter? All right. So is that what Kevin Morris was doing? So you guys will fill us in when we get there. So, all right. So questions about that. Is it another Netflix, like an official Netflix thing? All right. So then Hunter showed up. Now he's arraigned on this. These are very quick proceedings. Just show up, basically plead not guilty, and you're on with it. But we'll go up through this and we'll see what I think CNN was there. They were having an updated feed, and we'll see what they had in store for us for what was inside the courtroom. And then, of course, Congress, they actually passed that contempt resolution before Hunter came in and snubbed them. They actually moved forward. They passed the resolution. And so I have a draft of it. I don't know if it's a finalized version that they voted on, but I did pull it from the Oversight website. And so we'll take a look at what is inside. They're basically saying, Hunter, this is going to move forward to the House floor. We're going to officially vote to hold you in contempt. And I think that yesterday might have actually incited the right. It might have, kind of galvanized them to stand against this Hunter madness. We've also got Jill says, don't be mean to my son. He's trying his best. And Comer is responding to this. He's saying, what Hunter did to us is very rude. And Comer's just so funny, man. I don't know if you could actually really offend him. It's like, what do you have to do to get Comer angry? He's always just kind of slightly perturbed. He's like, Hunter was really rude to us. I can't believe it. You're like, yeah, I know. He's really kind of embarrassing you guys. So are you going to do anything about it? He's just so happy-go-lucky. It's hard to even be mad at him. But okay, so 3 good segments today. Hunter arraigned in California and also held in contempt, according to the Oversight Committee. Fani colluding with the J6 people, and Trump speaking in closing arguments. And of course, we're going over to Inner City Press for details on that. But my friends, of course, we also want to invite you to join us at watchingthewatchers.locals.com. We always have a members-only after party after the streams here. We do member-only shows and streams in the morning, so come and check us out. We already had a great one this morning talking about all of the other stuff happening, like the debates and the elections and all of the other madness going on, including, some other Trump stuff. Like today, we talked about the town hall, stuff that we just can't squeeze in here. We talk about it. Watchingthewatchers.locals.com. We also do after parties after the show. If you're a YouTube member, you can join us on the community tab section on the YouTube channel. Scroll down, grab the private members only Telegram link, join us there. And then we do Saturday streams. So come and check us out on Saturday as well. Also want to share with you the website. So if you're looking for any PDFs, if you're looking to get any of the documents that we're about to go through, robertgovea.com is a place you can go to grab those. You can see here in this reports section, all the stuff that we talk about, everything gets synthesized and put on here so that you can read it, review it, and access the PDF documents. We're trying to build this archive of the malfeasance that's happening across our country. And so thanks for checking it out. You can also sign up for the newsletter here. Just click here for instant access. Boom, a pop-up's going to pop up. Sign up for the newsletter, and every day after the show, you get a summary of everything that we talked about. So it all gets delivered to your inbox in case you miss anything. And of course, we love when you forward that to everybody that you know. And they love it too. Trust me, they really love all the forwards. So just keep going, just especially ours. Forget the other ones. Forward ours for sure. All right, so my friends, now, without any further ado, let's get right to it. Closing arguments in the civil fraud case against Donald Trump brought by Letitia James. She was in court, so was Donald Trump, and it was a bit of a surprise because Judge Engoron had told us that Donald Trump was not going to be testifying. And there was a back and forth. Donald Trump and his defense team said, Your Honor, my client would like to, talk. And Engoron said, well, only if he says this and this and this and this and this and this. Well, he's not going to say all that stuff, Engoron. That's you testifying, not him. And so there was a back and forth in an email sequence that we covered here on a prior segment, which was a lot of fun. And it turns out that at the end of the sequence, Engoron came out and said, you're done, rah! He was very upset, capital letters, respond now, so on. And Trump was not going to be allowed to speak. But Donald Trump doesn't take no for an answer, baby. So he showed up and he said, guess what? I'm speaking anyways. And so we're going to go through the X script, courtesy of our friend Matthew Russell Lee. And he's over at Inner City Press. And so we're going to go, Matthew Lee Russell. He's going to be here at Inner City Press. He does the X script. He is in courtrooms and explaining to us what's happening. And so we're going to go and listen to him and see what he says about this. Now, Trump is also speaking a bunch today. He was inside and outside the courtroom. There was a lunch break and he came out and spoke there. So he gave his closing argument, not only in front of the court, but also to the media many times. Now, before the whole day started, there was a bomb threat that occurred. And this is not good. Of course, Engoron got one of these. And basically, I think everybody in this country is now getting SWAT attacks and bomb threats and all the things. Chutkin got one. Jack Smith got one. Now Judge Engoron got one. And you can see that this is what it said. There was a bomb threat at the house of the judge presiding over the trial. That happened this morning, just hours before closing arguments were set to begin. Okay, the person who's in charge of this, called Al Baker, he's the spokesman for the court administration. He said, yeah, we're aware there was a bomb threat against Justice Engoron. The Nassau County, New York Police Department said a person familiar with the matter are all investigating. We had layers of security protocols in place since the onset of the proceedings, and they will continue. He added that extra layers of security have been added for Engoron's safety, and we anticipate the proceedings to continue as planned. And so, I don't know who they were looking for. I don't know if anybody had eyes on the pipe bomber from the January 6th thing that they couldn't find or, checked with the FBI. Are you guys calling us? It says here on our caller ID, FBI. That's not you, is it? Or it says on there, C. Ray. He said, what is that? C. Ray. C. Who is that? Who is that? Do we know anybody C. Ray? Or it says R. Epps. Anyone know an R. Epps? Is anyone have it, who that was? Anyways, so a lot of confusion about who could have called that in. I have my suspicions. You have yours. But it started out this morning. And of course, hopefully the FBI can get to the bottom of that. Hopefully they investigate it and find out who's making these threats against judges. Okay. So we'll see charges for that one, I'm sure. No problem. But the whole thing's just a kind of circus, one after another. So of course we know that Letitia James, the AG, has literally campaigned on running against Trump. Ran on destroying Trump. Her entire modus operandi was to sue him for whatever she could find and to take him out. She fundraised on it. CNN's going to confirm that for us as well. But we also have our friend Kaneko the Great, who's on the X platform, and he was looking through some of those White House logs. And here's what he shared with us. He said, breaking, Letitia James, who we're going to see seated in the courtroom right in her usual spot, visited the White House in April 2022. Oh, in August 2023. You're kidding. And in July of 2023. Letitia. You're kidding. Oh, look at this. Letitia James. April 8th, 2022. She met with Joe Biden. Now, yeah, there it was. Visit T. The appointment was made on the 7th. The appointment was ended on the 8th. And I don't know when the start date was, when the appointment started. I thought on the other ones we saw a start time, the ones we reviewed for Big Fani Willis. But here, the visitee met with POTUS at the White House on the South Lawn in 2022. Letitia James. What's she doing meeting them? That's weird. Right before she's prosecuting, or in the middle of her prosecution of their political opponent? Crazy. Now here's another one. Letitia James, you see her here, her official name, August 29, 2023. Now, People 243, Vice President. How about that? The location, the VPR, first floor of the VPR poolside. She was hanging out at the pool, having cocktails with Kamala. Oh, gosh. That's going to be her podcast, probably, as soon as she gets thrown out of the White House. Cocktails with Kamala, brought to you by Netflix. Gross. So here, that's where they met. We also had this one from Letitia on July 14th, right after July 4th. Went over there to the White House, met with Letitia, met with Escobar. Who is that one? I don't know. Analysis, something or other, at the OEOB. Don't know, but she's there at the White House. What a surprise. And so it's just this never-ending story. All roads go back to the Bidens. All roads go back to the White House. It's all part of the power structure. Tish is prosecuting on behalf of Biden. Fani's prosecuting on behalf of Biden. Jack Smith, who's illegitimate, not even lawfully appointed by the Senate and the president, is also prosecuting on behalf of Biden. So it's one thing after the other. Kaneko the Great is the reference for that one. Here, CNN also acknowledges this. They're not even hiding it. They say, look, come on, you can't deny this. Letitia, her entire livelihood has been to run against Trump and the people of New York, because they don't really care, I guess, about improving their livelihoods or having a functional government. It's like the Coliseum. There's like, rah, frothing at the mouth. They're like, good. Oh, Trump, the guy who built all these buildings? We're just going to have one demented partisan prosecutor who's not even intelligent come in and wreck the enterprise. Why? Because she's, says he's racist or something like that? You have a builder and a destroyer, and her entire campaign was built on destruction, and CNN can't even hide the fact.
What they were doing, they got paid back. But it is a fact that Letitia James, as Paula Reed said, Letitia James campaigned for Attorney General in 2018 specifically on a promise of vote for me and I'll get Donald Trump. That's not something she said once. She said it dozens of times. She said it in writing. She fundraised off it. And she wasn't even specific. She didn't say, I'll get him for inflating his assets. At one point, she said he could be indicted for money laundering. At one point, she said, the day after she was elected, she said, and I quote, we're definitely going to sue his ass. He'll know my name. And when you make statements like that, how can you say there's no political angle to this? You can maybe say the facts are there, but it's also political. That's Letitia James's own doing.
So what if...
It's political. Engoron has been just excited as can be about this prosecution. And so that's what we are going into as we now transition into what happened during closing arguments today. Now, Trump gave a bit of a speech before he went in and before the defense started with their closing arguments. You can see we are now outside the courtroom. Donald Trump, Alina, Abba, and the rest of the team are there. Here is what it sounded like.
Thank you very much. I just had a very good session.
Hang on a second. I think that was... Let me make sure I have the sequence correct. This is inside the courtroom first. Let's go inside the courtroom. I thought Trump gave a speech outside the courtroom. This is inside the courtroom, and then we'll go into the excerpt. Handsome team there. Oh, and look at Letitia back there, right in the seat. She's been sitting there this entire trial, which has gone on for months now. And we have some real concerns about that bench. Full house. All right, so Donald Trump's there, Christopher Keese is there, Alina Abba is there, and we've got reaction from Trump after they have a bit of closing arguments. And so let's get right into it. For the X scripts, as per usual, we head on over to Inner City Press, Matthew Russell Lee, who covers Southern District of New York. We're a huge fan of his work, so please be sure you're following at Inner City Press. He's inside the courtroom, and he's always getting some good details for us. So Matthew Russell Lee at Inner City Press, make sure you're following him. Now, he does a lot of work on this, and he also does writings on this, so you can follow his links to get his work product. But here's what he was sharing on X. We're now in New York versus Trump closing arguments. Trump's lawyer, as you walk into the courtroom, up on the screen on a slide, it says, no legal or factual basis for profit disgorgement. Inner City Press is there, and they are reporting. He says Trump's lawyer, probably Christopher Keese, starts the conversation. He says, Your Honor, President Trump told you he created a world-class facility in less than a year, meeting every condition of the contract. So he should get a medal. And there was no material change. And the judge cuts him off. Material adverse change? Trump's lawyer says yes. He says the city won. They got a beautiful facility, and President Trump exceeded his responsibilities. Says the Attorney General Letitia says that we have to disgorge Donald Trump and his profits. But there's wait a minute. This feels like we're starting right in the middle of it. So hang on a second. Let me see if I have the threads. It doesn't feel like it is starting where I thought it was starting. Now let me see why that is. My apologies. Here you go. And here's the thread. Okay, so I'm scrolling. I thought I had the right one earlier, but I must have copied and pasted the wrong link. My apologies. So let me see if I can grab this. It's going to be a second. I don't know what I did with it. I was prepping very rapidly today, as you could tell. So let's scroll all the way back up. Okay, hang on a second. Let me try something else. Yeah, I know. It's just like amateur hour over here. It's amateur hour in the house. I didn't drink my Ovaltine this morning. Okay, so we're going to go over to Klasfeld. Let's see here. And see if he was there. Okay, hang on a second. My apologies, my friends. Okay, let's go to Klasfeld because I think we just jumped into, let's go back here. We jumped into Inner City Press midway. So here we go. Now we're here with Adam Klasfeld. He's also in the session. Klasfeld reports, writes the following. As the trial gets underway, Donald Trump enters the courtroom. He's followed by his son, Eric Trump, and the lawyers, all in tow. Now, since court proceedings were scheduled at 10 a.m., it appears that the bomb threat against Judge Engoron that came in early this morning significantly delayed the proceedings. We got a bunch of people in there, longtime Trump advisor Boris Epshteyn and others. And suddenly the judge comes in and says, the clerk says, all rise. All right, get up for the judge. Just Engoron, areola. Sorry, sit down. The judge is now there. Please be seated, he says. He says, proceedings begin with barely minutes of delay. We're ready to go. So the journalists come in and they roll around the room. And as we see, they take photographs. And Trump is seated there, getting his photograph taken. Now, after being told by court personnel that the reporters are lining up, Engoron says, lining up? Someone tells the judge, Your Honor, the reporters are lining up here. And Engoron says, lining up? Like they're going to be shot or something? He says, all right, just so we're clear, everybody, the defense is going first for closing arguments. Trump's attorney, Christopher Keese, is about to begin. Now, then we have a slideshow that's up on the screen. First slide up on the screen says, not one witness. Not one witness. So taking cues from that graphic, he says, not one witness, Your Honor. Not one. Within 44 days of trial, not one witness came into this courtroom and said there was fraud. In fact, Letitia James is here. She's trying to put someone who's been part of the fabric of the New York State real estate industry right out of business. Next slide. Next slide says not one complaint. From not one witness to not one complaint. Again, Your Honor, as flattering as it may be, Judge, the only cite they have is to you. They're referencing you in their claim. And now I want to talk about, this is Trump's lawyer, about the statute of limitation objections, Your Honor, that you threw out before this trial even started. You rejected this. Clicks the slides. Slide says DJT overqualified for Deutsche Bank. Says, Your Honor, there's no reason at all for Donald Trump to have to inflate his wealth to get a foot in the door at the bank. He's Donald Trump. In fact, they're dragging President Trump to come through this door. They want him here. He's the whale client. He's the biggest one. He's one of 10 or 25 people that the banks wants to welcome through its doors with open arms. In fact, we heard here during the trial, says Trump's defense, we heard all about whale hunting in emails and how the bank executive wanted to go hunt the whale of Donald Trump and his family. Man, we love to get their business. Nicholas High said that he relied on the Trump financial statements, according to Klasfeld. Klasfeld says, and after Keese, Christopher Keese, he says, Your Honor, we have unrebuted testimony, unrebutted, that the judge interjects. He says, hey, Tish, does your table think it's unrebutted? He says, no, we don't. We think it's been rebutted big time. Big butts rebutted. Engoron says, well, there you go, Chris. They don't agree with this. So I don't concede that the testimony has been unrebutted. And even if it were, he would determine the testimony isn't credible. He says, so I don't care if it's agreed on or not. I think it's illegitimate. So then Keith says, fine, Your Honor. Don't butt it out. It. He says, well, fine. Then I want to turn over to this serial liar called Michael Cohen, who is also at the start of this case. Michael Cohen was on the stand, and he admitted that he lied to Judge Pauley at his sentencing. He lied to him when he was being convicted. He also testified, Michael Cohen, that Trump had him, quote, reverse engineer an arbitrarily inflated number. Keith says he testified to it right there, Your Honor. He looks back at the stand where that convicted perjurer, Michael Cohen, sat. He was right there on the podium, Your Honor, right there on the stand. And he testified to that. Then he says right there that President Trump did not direct him to inflate the numbers. Cohen said that Trump gave him directives like a mob boss, says Klasfeld. But Keist returns to the question. He says, Your Honor, in September, Trump was found liable on the first of 7 claims against him. And the remaining counts have a higher bar in that the state must prove intent and materiality. For example, whether any misstatements on financial statements even mattered to the banks. So if Trump made a mistake or a misstatement, he said, I'm worth this, and the bank said, no, you're not. The bank is only going to give him a certain valuation because they're going to, do their due diligence and then comply with their numbers. So Trump didn't cause them to do anything. Next slide. Materiality defined. Your Honor, this is the definition of materiality in case the court needs it. The definition is whether a misstatement is whether it is material to a user, to the end user, which is the bank or the insurance company. Like, does it matter to them? Not does it matter to Tish. Trump's team, Key says, it was not material to Deutsche Bank. They wanted to do business with us regardless. They did their due diligence, and that's their prerogative. Now, they turn to the proposed disgorgement. Key says, by the way, Letitia wants us to be disgorged $370 million. Wipe him out. Your Honor, the AG is now substituting her judgment for the sophisticated banks. She knows better than they do. Now, the government's own witness estimated that Deutsche Bank lost $168 million in interest if they would have charged Trump if they knew Trump's true wealth. That's the government's witness. He says there's no other categories of ill-gotten gains that lead up to the higher number. And he says, Your Honor, this is ridiculous. Like, you're going to disgorge him $370 million, but they just lost $168 million according to their numbers, which are bogus anyways. And so they just made it up. What are the other categories of ill-gotten gains? Where else was the money? Like, what else makes the difference of that? There isn't any, Your Honor. Think of your legacy, says Christopher Keese, which he is. He thinks he's like going to be paraded around the cocktail parties in New York, which maybe he will, with his areolas hanging out with bonus torso photos on his Christmas cards. This is precedent, Your Honor. Don't do this. He says this is a victimless offense. The AG is going after somebody who built this city, and now she's here to tear it down. It's insane, he says. He says, Your Honor, as I wrap up here today, I want to finish with the theme of weaponization. Now, I know that word gets tossed around a lot, but the theory of the case here, it would hand limitless power to the Attorney General in a way that threatens the business community. So don't do it, Your Honor. 15-minute break from Klasfeld. So Klasfeld's reporting, they take a break, and we'll continue on with him. Let's see. He is back from the break, and he is going to carry on, no doubt. And so we're going to fast forward through that, and let's see where we pick back up. Here it is. We are back after the break with Klasfeld. And here is what happens next. Alina Abba up at the podium says, Your Honor, first I'd like to start off by saying tremendous job, Chris. He summarized basically everything because he's so brilliant. And he did a great job. But I've actually been on this case longer than even Mr. Keese was. In fact, we've been here in this courtroom for 44 days. But I've been here, says Miss Abba, for 3 years, Your Honor, not 44 days. And Judge, I have to tell you that you are now being dragged through a political agenda. And Engoron says, hey, watch it, Alina. This is for facts and evidence. Don't say that I'm biased. I've already rejected biased claims. So don't go down that road, Miss Abba. I've already ruled on that, and I've upheld that. Alina says, Your Honor, this doesn't make any sense. And why would they hire a heavyweight accounting firm like Mazars, the Trump organization, to perpetrate a fraud? These are legitimate people. They went out, they hired one of the largest accounting firms in the state of New York to do their due diligence. And they did it. Klasfeld says there's a lot of sarcasm here and grand dismissive gestures. Alina says, yes, some fraud, Your Honor. Yeah, real fraud. What a fraudster. Engoron, Tishy. Hopefully she's looking at Tishy and making faces at her. Now, in a sarcastic tone, Abba disputes that Trump intentionally inflated the size of his New York triplex. Abba says, okay, so explain this to me. If you're trying to commit fraud, why would you put it in writing to a real estate agent? Excuse me, can you tell me how big this apartment is? So that it's in writing so he can get it all on the record and document that it's fraud, right? This is how big it is. Trump just made it. It's all nonsense. He wouldn't. That's the answer, in case you were wondering, Judge. Alina says, we're human beings, Your Honor. There are some errors, no problem. He did his best. This is human error. It's not the biggest problem. And so relax. And the third and the final defense lawyer, called Christopher Cliff Robert, he now delivers remarks. He says, Your Honor, good morning. Let me just start by saying there is no case here. There is nothing here. This is a press release wrapped up in a lawsuit. And I want to quote Gertrude Stein, who said, there's no there. Now, Engoron then grills Robert on whether he understood the reference of his quote. He said he didn't know that it was Stein. So the lawyer continues for Trump. Yeah, I want to tell you, Your Honor, President's sons called Eric Trump and Donald Trump, who you said benefited from their father's business genius, was actually going to the benefit of thousands of employees. And payroll doesn't come from the heavens, Your Honor. Payroll comes from work. So, Your Honor, the law is not stupid. The Attorney General holds that we are, but the law is not. Now, Robert then calls Michael Cohen a loser with a capital L, says he didn't have the chutzpah to accuse his clients, Eric Trump and Don Jr., of any wrongdoing. And so that's from Klasfeld. And so the thread ends there. And let's see what happens next. Now, as it carries on, let's see where it goes. We are picking back up. So let's go back over here. These threads are all a little wonky today. Okay. So let's go back over to Inner City Press. And let's back up a little bit because I think we can get some more details. So let's back up to ABBA. So we can fill in the blanks. Judge Engoron says, Miss Abba, proceed. We saw the 44 days conversation. Now, this case began, says Alina, before Miss James even took office. It's on video, and I have it. It's political. Engoron interrupts her. You saw the emails? I'm going off facts, Judge. If the Trump organization wanted to commit fraud, why would they go hire Deutsche and Zurich and sophisticated institutions? Why would they do this? Now, we've been here for 44 days, and Tishy has not proven her case. The case fails. Now, I want to start where all this started. Michael Cohen was in this courtroom, and Your Honor, he sat there, and he lied, and he instigated all of this. And because the case failed, when he could not prove that Weisselberg was like the mob, and that's the end of it. And we also know Cohen was caught lying. Abba says, I represent the Trump organization. When Michael Cohen and his story, and that's truly what it was, a story, when they came in here and they used Alan Weisselberg, the CFO, as a pawn because they couldn't get to my other client, which is President Trump. And where is President Trump? I didn't see any emails from him, so they use others to get to him. Weisselberg with the CFO is not a CPA. He hired an accounting firm. They were supposed to be the experts on Gap. And now Jeff and Alan are being also thrown under the bus. The low-level employee of Zurich said she didn't understand, but she knew that evaluation is different than an appraisal. And judge says, all right, move on, Alina. Let's just move on. Okay, fine. You want to move on? How about the square feet? They say it's fraud, but it was corrected a couple of days later. We fixed the square feet problem. That was a mistake. And we fixed it. Now, the government also called, Trump also called a real estate agent who multiplied the square feet per floor by 3. That's not a crime on any planet. It's called human error. They did a math equation wrong. I don't even do math well. The case is fundamentally flawed, right? Lawyers and a lot of people who are not good at math. And real estate agents, I don't know if they are or not. But it's a mistake, Your Honor. And the Attorney General, I turned around this morning and she's seated back there and she had her shoes off and a Starbucks coffee. Disgusting. Tish took her shoes off in the courtroom with her Starbucks coffee. Oh, gross. Stinking up the place. Judge says this is irrelevant. Oh, this is irrelevant. So apparently it's true. Gosh. It's like she owns the place. Lounging up. She have a place to put her feet? Says she's the plaintiff, Your Honor. Now, she chooses not to be at this table because she sits behind the bar because she's really unqualified to even be, at the table. She doesn't know what's going on. But she only speaks outside, okay? This is her political agenda, plus her feet stink. The judge said, yes, I said any high school. The judge said, yes, I said any high school. And don't forget, I went to the world's greatest high school. I don't know what happened there. And Alina says, judge says to Alina, you made a mistake. She says, a human mistake? You said, I know Mr. Weisselberg. I know a lawyer may not say that. She says it's closing argument. It's closing argument, and man, X is like bouncing around on me strangely today. Okay, so as we get down here, Trump is about ready to speak. So Alina wraps up right there. Okay, we're done there. So it's closing argument, Your Honor, and so she's done. So we come on back. Now Trump is about to speak. Trump's lawyer, Christopher Keyes, comes up. He says, Your Honor, I ask that you allow President Trump to speak for a few minutes right now. We're all done. Engoron says, that is not done. Okay, we don't do that. And remember that we already had an order from Judge Engoron that said that Donald Trump is not allowed to speak. An order was already crafted. We covered that in a prior segment. This is not done, but let me see. Mr. Trump, says the judge, stand up, please, sir. Okay, let me address you. I'm going to let you say something, but I need you to promise that you're going to stick to the facts. Trump says, this case goes outside the fact. The financial statements were perfect. Zurich represents us right now, Judge. How the heck did we defraud them? There wasn't one witness against us. This is a political witch hunt, and we should be the ones receiving damages. There was a small mistake on the triplex. Okay, that's all I read about in the papers. These things can happen. Now, I'm not sure the dollar amount would be far off, but it's de minimis. It means nothing. We have a situation where Trump says, I'm an innocent man. I'm being persecuted by someone running for office, Tish and Engoron. Now, the legal prognosticators find this case outrageous, says Trump. Now, what's happened here, sir, is a fraud on me. Now, Exxon left. They're in Texas. I pay taxes. How much? $300 million, says Trump. And they don't want me here anymore. They want me to make sure that I don't win again. She hates Trump, pushing back to Tish. Now, with all these years, they found nothing. They want $370 million for what? I borrowed money from the bank because they wanted me to. The head of Deutsche Bank, they wanted me to. Now, I know this is boring you, Judge Engoron. I know this is boring you. You're not paying attention. Judge says, hey, control your client, Mr. Keese. Control your client. Judge Engoron says, haven't you been sued before, Trump? He says, yeah, every time we ask for a directed verdict, we get shut down. Engoron says, it's 1 o'clock. Time's up. You're done. So that's the end of that. And of course, that came over from Inner City Press reporting. Now let's see what Klasfeld fills in as Engoron as Trump came out and spoke. Trump is in the courtroom. Here is what he said. Yeah. Klasfeld said, this is a fraud on me. What happened here, sir, is a fraud on me. And it's a political witch hunt. And that's all apparently he got from Trump's testimony. So as you can see, there was some testimony today. Donald Trump, after the exchange, he came out and he had something to say about it. And this is what it sounded like from Trump himself.
Thank you very much. I just had a very good session. The lawyers said that there was absolutely nothing done wrong. These were all great loans. The bank got the loans. They got paid. The banks were in perfect condition. The bankers were extremely happy with these loans. They made a lot of money with the loans. There were no defaults. There were no problems. This is just an attorney general that hates Donald Trump and wanted to run for governor, wanted to run for attorney general. And it's a shame. I think she should be criminally liable for this. She did this to Exxon, and they drove Exxon out of New York. Exxon paid billions of dollars in taxes. They're now living in Texas. Exxon is very happy in Texas. Other companies, because of what's happening here, are going to be moving out of New York also. This is an out-of-control attorney general. She's totally out of control. These loans were all good. The banks were extremely happy with me. They still are. We built a great company. We have a company that's very liquid, very strong, great assets. And she sued me because she wanted the publicity to run for office. And they find nothing wrong. And I think if anybody was being fair about it, and I'm not sure you can even hear me because they don't allow microphones over here, which is a little ridiculous. But if anybody's fair about it, you see this is a case that should have never been brought. And I think we should be entitled to damages. Thank you. I'll be back.
Mr. Trump, what's your reaction to your name being removed from the Trump?
All right, so that was one little statement. And of course, we've got some others. Donald Trump was also speaking after the fact. And let's see if this is the clip that I want.
Well, thank you very much. As you know, we consider this an unconstitutional witch hunt. It's election interference at the highest level. It's a disgrace. It's in coordination with the White House and Joe Biden. You can't win a campaign fairly. And we're going through it. I think it is indeed a terrible witch hunt. We're going to have a news conference a little bit later on. As you know, I want to speak. I want to make the summation. At this moment, the judge is not letting me make the summation because I'll bring up things that he doesn't want to hear. And it's a very unfair trial. Nobody's seen anything like this. I don't think they've ever seen anything like this. We have a situation where a statute was used that doesn't give me a jury, so I have no jury. I really have no rights, and it's and nobody thinks it's constitutional. People, legal scholars are writing about it like it's something they've never seen before. So it's interference, it's political interference, and it's something that shouldn't be allowed. So I am hoping to speak and to help my lawyers reveal all of the defects of this case that should have never been brought.
Okay, so obviously he did speak. That was from before he was allowed to speak. And he mentioned that they did put on a press conference, or that was their intention when he was saying that. And this is what it sounded like. So after the fact, this is what happened. Alina Abba came out, introduced Donald Trump after they were done presenting their closing arguments. And this is what it sounded like. The final closing arguments, not in the court of Areola Engoron, but in the court of public opinion.
President Trump, everybody.
Yeah!
Thank you very much. Yeah, we've gone through years with this person. She's a political hack, the Attorney General. The judge is obviously extremely friendly with the group, and we'll see what happens. I think maybe he may surprise people on a positive side. We'll have to see what happens exactly. But we've proven this case so conclusively. We've asked for directed verdict many times. They don't have any facts. They don't have any evidence against us. Millions and millions of pages, years of litigation, and all politically motivated. She campaigned on a "I will get Trump." If you've ever seen any of her clips, they're horrible clips, actually. The anger, she's got serious Trump derangement syndrome.
Big
There's
time.
no question about it.
Maximum.
Letitia James, the corrupt Attorney General of New York. So we've proven our case. There's not one witness against us other than one person who is a deranged. He's got a lot of problems. He's a man who's been convicted of lying. He's a felon, convicted felon, and not a good person.
Michael Cohen.
But that's their only witness, and he's now crashed and burned. They have no witnesses. And by the way, that witness took back everything that he said. He took back everything he said in court, took it all back. So they have no case. It's a shame that a thing like this is able to happen. Businesses leave New York. She went after Exxon, and they decided to move to Texas. And hundreds of millions of dollars they pay in taxes. I paid over $300 million of taxes over the last number of years. $300 million, and they don't recognize that.
Not
they don't
enough.
recognize
Sorry.
anything. So, think of it, not one witness, millions of pages of document, years of this nonsense, and now it goes on. And one other factor, we won this case already in the Court of Appeals. The Court of Appeals voted in favor of us. But this judge has been very, very slow to accept that opinion because that's not the opinion that he wants. But we won in the Court of Appeals. That's the boss of this judge who has to know that. And it was a conclusive victory, statute of limitations and other things. And that case has already been won. So that's the story. And I thought we'd come down to 40 Wall Street, which is a great building, and you'd get a chance to see one of the nicest buildings in New York and a convenient place. And I don't have to pay any rent because we have it, and it's been a very successful building. But it's a shame to have gone through this for years and years and years. And now we'll see if we're going to get an honest verdict. We didn't have a jury. We had no rights to a jury.
No.
It's a statute that's never been used before for a purpose like this. I just watched a certain broadcast, and they said, they've been looking, has it ever been used before? This is a statute that's a consumer fraud statute, never been used for anything like this before, and it's a shame.
Of course.
It's really it's a witch hunt in the truest sense of the word. It's election interference. And it just came out, this was just right now, Letitia James visited Joe Biden in the White House numerous times during the Trump witch hunt. And this came out about 10 minutes ago, I got it. And so it's all a conspiracy to try and get Biden, who can't put two sentences together, trying to get him into office. So I just want to let you know that we have our best poll numbers, we have the best everything, despite this, and maybe because of this, because the people of the United States, all of those people back there, but the people of the United States really get it. They get it better than anybody else. Yeah, please.
Okay, so Donald Trump looking good, sounding good, nice, cohesive closing arguments as they wrap up in Judge Engoron's courtroom. But we know how this is going to go, okay? Every single thing that has happened in this case has been, well, in my opinion, a joke. Not only has Judge Engoron been engaging in some inappropriate behavior with his Greenfield, his Allison principal law clerk, his GF as we call her here, but every single ruling has been adverse to Trump. Trump has not been able to make the arguments his team has been wanting to make. And today it sounded like it was another kangaroo court again. Now, I was very curious that Trump got to speak at all. And I think it's because Engoron just can't help himself. I mean, he has to engage with this man. It's like the subject of his entire existence. And so he just had to give Trump a little bit of an opportunity there. Now, they might think that Trump is going to do something adverse to him or hang the case, or he's going to be able to latch onto something there. But as per usual, Trump swoops in, sucks all the air out of the room, and is showing us all what a joke this is. $370 million of disgorgement for stuff that's over the valuation of the loan from a partisan hack prosecutor who takes her shoes off in court and stinks the whole building up with her disgusting feet? Gosh. All right, so we're going to be here waiting for the ruling from Engoron. Donald Trump is going to be appealing it, no doubt about it. And so we're going to be here continuing to cover it, my friends. Thank you for joining us. No matter where you are, I appreciate you subscribing and following along. We're going to be covering all of the Trump cases, including Georgia and the rest of them. And so we'll be looking forward to seeing you back here on the next one. And thanks for bringing someone to join you as we do. All right, now let's carry on because we're now going down to Georgia. And we got some big Fani updates on what's happening in the Georgia prosecution. And this one is good. Big Fani Willis and her special prosecutor, Nathan Wade, apparently were colluding with the January 6th Select Committee. We've had a lot of suspicions about this. Why? Because Fani and Nathan were apparently meeting with the White House, as we've already talked about here. Nathan Wade, the special prosecutor, met with the White House twice. May 23rd, 2022 for 8 hours. That's a conference with the White House counsel. Huh, that's curious. And another meeting between Nathan Wade that he billed for with an interview with DC and the White House. We already talked about those dates and those records. Both of those came in before Trump was ever indicted. $4,000 Nathan Wade billed to the people of Fulton County. And Fani paid it, apparently because she loves this dude. So then Fani also met with VP Kamala over at the White House. That happened on February 28th. And so these people have been meeting with not only the White House, but now, according to Politico, the J6 committee. Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene is filing a criminal complaint or recommending a criminal complaint be filed. She sent that over to officials in Georgia. And then we've got Liz Cheney, who basically led the January 6th committee, who is being begged to run by the ladies on The View. We'll wrap it up with these two people, Haley and DeSantis, who are also saying, man, they would really like if Trump went away when they're having their little patty cake debate over there on CNN. But let's see what Politico said, because Fani has been busted colluding. This is Politico, which is no Trump magazine. This came from two authors, Betsy Woodruff Swan and Kyle Cheney, who does good work on X, and he's not a Trump fan, in my opinion, of his posts. But here's what they write. The January 6th committee helped guide the early days of the Trump probe in Georgia. Wow. I thought Fani was doing this on her own because she told us that. No, I don't talk to anybody about this. This is my case. I'm Fulton County. I'm Big Fani. Nobody's bigger than my Fani in Georgia. So if she was actually getting her homework answers from Liz, that's a problem. Because is it Liz's case? Is it the White House's case? Or is it Fani's case? We know the answer. Georgia prosecutors probing Donald Trump's effort, they say, to subvert the election, or you mean to correct it, got an early boost in spring 2022. It came from other investigators from the J6 committee, which was illegal. Committee staff quietly met with lawyers and agents. Committee staff who were working for Fulton County in mid-April 2022. That's before the charges came, which were in August. Just as she prepared to convene the special grand jury. Isn't that fun? So she hadn't even brought the grand jury together, just preparing to do it. Then she gets her homework assignment from Liz. In the previously unreported meeting, the J6 committee aides let the DA's team review, but not keep, a limited set of evidence that they had gathered. Oh, so they did the investigation and they just passed it all off to Big Fani. So now we have questions about chain of custody and about how this information got into Fani's purview and all the criminal rules that accompany that. So over the next few months, committee staff also had a series of phone calls with Willis's team. They answered the prosecutor's questions and they shared insight on matters like Trump's false electors gambit, which is part of the RICO case. A bunch of the alternate electors all got charged. Why? Because the January 6th committee was orchestrating it and his efforts to pressure Georgia Secretary of State Brad. Now, both of these ploys ultimately were featured in the criminal charges that Willis brought against Trump. Now, the contacts between the committee and the Willis team also helped prosecutors prepare for witness interviews. The content of the meetings and the calls was described by two former committee officials familiar with the outreach, both of them granted anonymity. The timing was corroborated by exhibits also attached to new court filings in the Willis prosecution that have come out. The committee aided in Willis's nascent probe, even as it rebuffed the Justice Department's request for material in the separate federal criminal probe of Trump's election subversion. Now, at the time, one reason the committee was more inclined to cooperate with Fulton might have been required to disclose evidence in an ongoing criminal case related to the J6 attack. Now, when congressional Republicans, when they recently pressed Willis to disclose her team's contact with the J6 committee, she refused, calling their inquiry an affront to the powers of federalism. And she wrote a nasty letter back to Jim Jordan, like screeching at him. And he's just like, well, I guess I'll just take it. The J6 committee, Chairman Benny, had previously also described staff-level contacts between Benny's office and Fulton County, because it's all being organized by them, which it was a Democrat committee. Nearly 2 weeks before the panel's staff met with Willis's team, Thompson told reporters he wasn't aware of how extensive those contacts were. Thompson told Politico he didn't know anything about the in-person visit. Now, Willis's office, who is still reeling from her love affair alleged, is still also did not respond for comment. Now, the scope of the committee's assistance to the DA is sure to be scrutinized. It shows the panel's work helped jumpstart the case. Yeah, the Democratic-led House, which had an illegally constituted January 6th Select Committee as per their own rules, and people are digging into it. So, to me, it's highly unusual level of specific cooperation. They're using what's supposed to be a congressional investigation in aid of a prosecution. So did Fani get any of this evidence on her own, or she just take Liz Cheney's evidence, which was gathered through legislative purposes, not through the criminal process? Invoice is now questioning all of their meetings. And so Marjorie Taylor Greene and others are demanding answers about this. Marjorie says this should be a criminal filing, and she sent a complaint over to officials in Georgia. And so let's take a look at what Marjorie Taylor Greene says from the desk of MTG. Says on January 10th, this letter goes over to the Honorable Brian Kemp and to the Honorable Christopher Carr, saying, Dear Governor Kemp and Attorney General Carr, a criminal referral against Fani Willis and her staff. Marjorie says, I write today, Governor and AG, to express my serious concerns about the alleged criminal misconduct by Big Fani Willis and her staff. As detailed in Trump co-defendant Michael Roman 127-page motion to dismiss, which we covered here, Fani Willis faces serious allegations that Fani has illegally hired her secret boyfriend, says Marjorie, Nathan Wade, who has never tried a felony case, as her special prosecutor to bring an unprecedented, complex, and partisan felony RICO prosecution against President Trump, the leading presidential contender for 2024, along with 18 other co-defendants. Now, despite this obviously illegal conflict of interest, Fani Willis, the biggest Fani in Georgia, has allegedly paid Nathan Wade, her secret boyfriend and special Trump prosecutor, nearly $700,000 in official funds. Now, this includes a multitude of vague block billings for 8 hours with no pee breaks at all. He's just working like a machine. And as a lawyer publicized, Technofog, even one billing for 24 hours on a single day, not even one pee-pee break the whole day. Not even a sip of water. Now, with the vague description is what he wrote, prepared cases for trial. They probably really needed that extra, cruise money. They're like going, should we go see the ruins, the ancient ruins? I don't know. That's we want to do a tour or something? I don't know. That's pretty expensive. Well, let me do some legal research. The Trump prosecution. Nathan Wade's like, hold on, I'll do some research. 24 hours. What do you know, honey? Let me bill you for it. Here's $6,000. Boom. And Fani Willis, in this conspiracy, may have received illegal kickbacks, including lavish domestic and international trips provided by Nathan Wade, her sugar daddy, sugar prosecutor, from these misappropriated government funds. Now, according to Nathan Wade's invoices that were submitted to Big Fanny's office, Fani even used the taxpayer funds to pay Nathan Wade for 2 trips to coordinate with President Biden's White House staff before bringing her unprecedented indictment of Trump, Biden's chief political rival, in 2024. Now, this is part of Fani Willis's unlawful partisan pattern through her words and deeds to illegally politicize and weaponize her office to wage lawfare against President Trump for the sole purpose of interfering with the 2024 election. And now we are learning that she has allegedly enriched her secret boyfriend, Nathan, and herself during this process on their cruises. So if proven true, these actions reflect Fani Willis's serious lawlessness, including potential violations of the public oath of office, Georgia annotated code. We've got violation of a public oath as a potential crime, bribery as a potential crime, improper influence of a government official, criminal conspiracy, conspiracy to defraud the government, racketeering, false statements and concealment. And Fulton County also has a gift ban according to Fulton County Code, and other similar Georgia public corruption crimes. And of course, Marjorie would know about this because she's a representative from Georgia. So Georgia statute also states that the DA shall take the following oath. So this is what Fani was supposed to do. I do swear that I will faithfully and impartially and without fear, favor, or affection, failed on that one for sure, discharge my duties as DA and will only take my lawful compensation, not cruises, to Norway. So help me God. Now, if Fani took kickbacks in the form of trips to the Caribbean from her unqualified boyfriend that she appointed with government funds, well, she violated her oath and also many Georgia criminal statutes. Thus, I request you order the immediate and the formal criminal investigation into this alleged misconduct by the Fulton County DA, which is like such a big position, it's crazy, along with her special Trump prosecutor and her alleged boyfriend, Nathan Wade, pursuant to your authority under Georgia law. Sincerely, your friend and just a regular old citizen of Georgia. This is not coming from Congress, as you can see. This is not coming from an Oversight Committee or anything. It's just simply from the desk of Marjorie Taylor Greene, signed your friend, Marjorie Taylor Greene. And so that is what she sent over. Here is what she is explaining why she sent this letter and what she expects to have happen here. She showed up on this network, and let's see what she had to say about this.
Who's never prosecuted. And last point, Marjorie, it turns out this guy was getting paid. He's a guy who's never prosecuted a ham sandwich. But it turns out part of his consulting payment was consulting with the Biden White House, okay? So there's another example of how they're pulling the strings on every single thing in their legal war against Donald Trump. Anyway, Fani Willis and her boyfriend, what's going on down there in Georgia?
Well, I'm so glad you asked me about it, Larry. I just got finished penning a letter to Governor Kemp and our Georgia Attorney General, Chris Carr, where I am asking for them to investigate for criminal investigations into Fani Willis and her boyfriend, Nathan Wade. I can tell you right now, I'm a lifelong Georgian, and we are sick and tired and fed up with
Good.
Fani Willis using her Fulton County position and Fulton County tax dollars not to prosecute real criminals, but to go after Joe Biden's top political opponent, which is President Trump and other co-defendants in their entire effort to claim that we shouldn't care about elections when absolutely elections are one of the most important things we have in this country. And so I'm recommending criminal referral to Governor Kemp and Chris Carr against Fani Willis and her
Fani,
boyfriend.
got
She's taking Fulton County taxpayer dollars and she's paying her boyfriend nearly $700,000 while he takes her on lavish vacations, not only in this country, but internationally as well. You talk about pay to play. And then he is invoicing her office, which is the Fulton County taxpayers, saying that he somehow worked 24 hours in one day. I'm sorry, that is corruption, and that is an absolute lie. Not only that, he was sent up and he met with the Biden White House as he is planning to prosecute President Trump. We know exactly what this is. I'm calling on Governor Kemp and our Attorney General Chris Carr, investigate and prosecute Fani Willis and end this witch hunt immediately. It's outrageous.
Yeah, before Fanny and Nathan go on another cruise. They might want to go whale watching or something, see the Aurora Borealis. And Donald Trump, you know, they got a couple more months left of grifting the prosecution away. So Marjorie Taylor Greene taking some action on it, lodging a recommendation for a criminal referral and a criminal complaint to people who matter in Georgia. So that's good news. Now, speaking of the January 6th Select Committee, what's Liz Cheney up to? Well, the ladies on The View were saying she should run for the presidency, that she should just go forward and save America from the prospect of Donald Trump. And here is what that sounded like with all of these absolutely sane, normal people on this TV show.
Do you see yourself, and would you ever consider being the conduit to that third party? Because I don't know if the Republican Party, as we knew it, will survive this. Because if he ever gets in again, we'll never have any more elections. There will be no more. He will stop.
Liz Cheney, yeah. I don't know that she actually believes that. I think that the Liz Cheney shtick is, you know, Liz Cheney's just mini Dick Cheney, and it's just kind of this extension of probably the war military-industrial complex. And so she's just, you know, 2.0 that the Democrats kind of like now that they're the war party, now that they want to spend war all the time endlessly. You know, it's wild that she's kind of morphed. Her dad was Dick Cheney. The liberals used to absolutely, you know, loathe that family, but now they embrace her. Now Whoopi Goldberg is like hanging out with Liz Cheney. It's crazy. So anyway, she's has totally morphed. And what's so insane about this is obviously Trump was already the president. You know, if he wanted to not give up power, if he wanted to just seize power, that was the time to do it. He already did that, you know, could have done that, I guess. In fact, they already said he did that, even though they never finished their thoughts. Like once he seized control of the lectern and the podium, what happened next? I don't know what was going to happen. You know, there's no real end game that they can articulate for us, but we'll wrap this up.
And he's very clear about that. He wants to be dictator for life. Okay? So I wonder, would you ever consider, would you please consider being that person? Because I got to tell you, I don't understand how people can say, we're with you, and then when you need them, they go, oh, but we're with him now. I don't understand that, and I don't understand how you find the grace not to be pissed at folks.
Oh,
you're not. You know, you're mad at them, but you're not pissed at them, because if you were pissed at them, you would have given up on them, and you haven't.
Well,
and so, would you?
Look, I think that...
I'm begging you. Look, I'm on one knee.
All right, so that's what's going on over there. Strange times over there. So anyways, back over on the Republican side, which is also strange. Here is what Nikki Haley is saying about this whole conversation. We're talking about January 6th. We're talking about irregularities. Fani is obviously as corrupt as can be. She was colluding with the January 6th Select Committee. The January 6th Select Committee created a fake report that they used as a pretext for everything. They gave it over to Fani. They gave it over to Jack Smith. It became the basis of the Colorado removal case, which became the Colorado removal case became the basis for the Maine removal case. It's dominoes, okay? And it all started with the January 6th Select Committee, which was illegally constituted according to H.R. 503. So that set the tone, that set the foundation. And now you've got Nikki Haley, who is making these very strange statements. She says Trump is dead wrong about everything, but there were some problems with some irregularities in the last election. And you're asking yourself, well then, so are you saying Trump was right or what?
Both of you talk about how important it is to protect the U.S. Constitution. 2 years after losing the 2020 election, Donald Trump wrote on social media about his baseless election lies, quote, "A massive fraud of this type and magnitude allows for the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution," unquote. On that subject, former Vice President Mike Pence has said that on January 6, 2021, Donald Trump put himself over the Constitution. Governor Haley, is there any meaningful difference in how you and Donald Trump view the Constitution?
I mean, look, you take an oath to the Constitution, and I think what you're seeing is Donald Trump basically said that the election was stolen. He went on and on talking about the election being stolen. He said that January 6th was a beautiful day. I think January 6th was a terrible day, and we should never want to see that happen again.
Talk to the FBI.
And I think we have to always be strong on the fact that, look, we want fair elections, and we saw some discrepancies in those elections in 2020 that should be concerning. That's why I passed voter ID in South.
Oh, okay. So then Trump had some right to be concerned, Nikki? Because there were some irregularities? Yeah.
South Carolina. That's why I think when absentee ballots go out, you should be able to verify signatures. That's why I think ballots need to be counted on election day, and you should get results on election day. But that election, Trump lost it. Biden won that election. And the idea that he's gone and carried this out forever to the point that he's going to continue to say these things to scare the American people are wrong. We've seen a lot of states come together and
scare the American people about what? Wanting free, fair elections that are not rigged? We had changed election dates. We had FBI suppression. We had CIA covering up for Hunter. We had the DOJ covering up for the Biden family. The list goes on and on. Not to mention the election day irregularities. So we should just sit down and shut up and stop talking about it.
Do more election integrity bills. We need to do more than that. We still have 3 or 4 states that I'm worried about that don't have that. But at the end of the day, I will always defend and fight for the Constitution. That's what we should do as Americans. I think what happened on January 6th was a terrible day, and I think President Trump will have to answer for it.
Okay, so we'll see about that, Nikki. And that is what they're banking on, okay? They want Trump removed. They're working hard to get it done. And maybe there's something behind the scenes that we don't know about that's happening. But did you see, she almost said, I fight against the Constitution, almost a little bit of a Freudian slip there.
American people are wrong. We've seen a lot of states come together and do more election integrity bills. We need to do more than that. We still have 3 or 4 states that I'm worried about that don't have that. But at the end of the day, I will always defend and fight for the Constitution.
You're going to fight the Constitution, aren't you? With our elimination of our Bill of Rights, aren't you, Nikki? All right, so that is Nikki Haley. Now, Ron DeSantis didn't give a much better answer at all. He's basically saying, you know, the Democrats are really powerful, and they're going to take out our top contender here, Donald Trump. And so if they take him out, that means you got to vote for me, because Trump's going to be convicted. And so if their weaponized political partisan prosecutions are effective, I guess we just have to acquiesce to the Democrats, forego Trump, throw him into the dumpster, and just elect me. This is Ron.
Let's talk about how you view the powers of the presidency, because your opponent, Donald Trump, was in court yesterday for a hearing on presidential immunity. And Governor DeSantis, I'm wondering if you agree with the argument that Donald Trump's lawyer made in court that a president should have immunity for any conduct in office, including, as the judge asked, ordering the assassination of a political rival, unless the president gets impeached and convicted by the Senate for the offense
yes,
first.
It's a necessary mechanism.
Well, obviously, that attorney gave the case away on that explanation. I think the D.C. Circuit is going to rule against Donald Trump on that issue. I'm not.
Ron? Didn't he go to Yale or something? Did he go to Harvard?
Not exactly sure what the outer limits are. I don't think it's necessarily been litigated. It's not going to be an issue with me because I'm always going to follow the Constitution.
Until the Democrats say you don't, until they just decide that you are now in violation because Fani Willis somewhere pops up and says, you did an insurrection there, Ron. That's the point.
And we're gonna uphold the best traditions of the office, and I'm going to be a president you can be proud of. I think it's important that people be able to look to the president and say, hey, that's somebody that's worthy of emulating. And so my wife and I, we just view ourselves to try to do well for our kids and to make sure they're proud of us, and we set a good example. So that's what we would do in that situation. But I think there's a larger issue Republicans have got to think of it. Donald Trump's going to lose that appeal. He's going to end up going to trial in front of a stacked left-wing D.C. jury of all Democrats.
Which is not absolutely true, by the way. We don't know that yet. He might go to the Court of Appeals and lose, which I think is right. I think that part of this is right. It will be sent back down. Then Trump will say, can I please have the full panel at the Court of Appeals? They'll probably say no. And then he'll go to the Supreme Court. Then the Supreme Court could decide that. Now, if they reject it and it comes back down and they don't want to handle this issue right now, then yeah, maybe he's right. And we pick it back up.
What are the odds that he's going to get through that? And that's even talking about the validity of the charges. I don't think he gets through that. And so what are we going to do as Republicans in terms of who we nominate for?
Who are we going to nominate? So not that we care about that. It's crazy. Not that we care that a Democratic prosecutor is going to go attack a candidate, any candidate in America, and take them out of the field, take them out of the game, like hack their kneecaps, like that Tanya Harding woman, and just cut him out from under him. And they're just going to say, well, their knee's not going to be, his knee's going to be broken. So yes, well, pick me then. Rather than saying we should absolutely destroy the people who are hacking people's knees to bits. That's his first thought. So how do we nominate somebody who has been attacked by the DNC, essentially, which is called Washington, D.C.?
President, if Trump is the nominee, it's going to be about January 6th, legal issues, criminal trials. The Democrats and the media would love to run with that. I'm not running for my issues. I'm running for your issues. We need to make this election a referendum on the failures of Joe Biden, the failures of the Democratic Party, and how we have the formula to engineer a great comeback for this country. That's what I would do.
I don't know why it's so difficult for them to understand that for the country, a huge part of us, one of the biggest issues, if not the biggest issue, is the weaponization of the government for political purposes. That is the seminal issue, because if we do not have a justice system, what country is there? If we don't have the First Amendment, as we saw, we don't get to participate in our elections because we're being attacked by literally the FBI, by literally implemented by the DOJ, by the CIA. They're all part of the same operation, which is to stop us from participating using our First Amendment rights. And for those of us who are just being silenced and censored as we have been here, that's just the start of it. Okay, the DOJ and the FBI are also going after and literally imprisoning people, prosecuting people and throwing them in prison because of their politics. Ray Epps gets probation. Others who did less severe things than Ray Epps get decades. Why? Why does Hunter Biden run free while all the other J6ers sit in the gulags? Because of the weaponization. And if that continues, there are no elections, there is no free speech, there is no semblance of any order. And so they would just have you forget it. It is so weak, it's disqualifying in my opinion. So these two are perfect for each other. They belong on the stage together. Vivek has been saying that maybe there's going to be a 1-2 combo. We talked about this on our members only stream at watchingthewatchers.locals.com. We were gaming this out during our morning stream today. But what happens? Maybe Trump wins big time in Iowa. Nikki Haley comes in third or second. Ron DeSantis comes in, let's say, third. Ron DeSantis is not going to come in first or second in New Hampshire, so he comes in third again in New Hampshire. So Iowa's his only play. If he fails Iowa, Nikki comes in maybe number 2 in Iowa as it currently stands, unless Ron hit her ticket as the VP to try to put her over the top in New Hampshire to see if she can parlay that into momentum when they go back over to South Carolina. Maybe that is the play for the next 2 weeks. We'll see. But you can see Fani was colluding with Liz Cheney and the January 6th committee. It's all a Democratic op, okay? They went and gobbled up a bunch of things under legislative privilege and they demanded it. They hoovered up info and then passed it off to Jack Smith, passed it off to Fani, met with Tishy Letish. The list goes on, but it is a collusion type of prosecution against Trump, and it's now being exposed. So we'll be here continuing to cover it, my friends. Thanks for checking out our website, robertgovea.com. We've got a daily newsletter that goes out every day after the show. When you go here, you can just scroll right down, click this big blue button, sign up for the newsletter. Then you'll get these show reports that include all the PDFs and everything that we look at right in the links, and so that you can share these with your friends and family. And of course, spread the word about what is happening out there as these prosecutions continue. We're going to be covering the Trump trials. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for inviting someone else over to come and join us. And we'll look forward to seeing you back here on the next one. All right, we're not done yet. We got one final segment on the day. And now we're talking about Hunter being arraigned. Hunter Biden shows up to California, and he has been arraigned on his tax charges. And these charges are a little bit more serious than the other ones that they just looked the other way at. They were trying to get him into a plea deal that would have been diversion on one charge and a misdemeanor on another, and he wrecked the whole thing. And so now he had to fly back to California one day after he pulled this little stunt in Congress where he showed up, tapped the shoulder of his attorney, and they scooted out of there as soon as Marjorie Taylor Greene started speaking and asking him questions. But we're going to go through this and also review the contempt resolution that the House ultimately passed that's going to be holding Hunter in contempt of Congress as soon as this reaches the floor and gets the full floor vote. We've got reaction from Comer and Jill Biden, who says, "Be nice to my Hunter. He's just an innocent boy." But here's what happened. Hunter, as soon as he left Congress, I think he was looking for the Senate chamber from that one image, but Hunter was flying on an airport and Secret Service was accompanying him. And this felt a little bit unusual. Katie Pavlich posted about this on X, says, here's Hunter surrounded by the police as he's fleeing Washington now to fly across the country to go back to LA for his criminal arraignment. He's flying back. He leaves Dulles Airport flying commercial, and he leaves the Capitol Hill stunt. Here are photos that someone sent her. All right, so here's Hunty standing around at the airport and trying to be all, I guess, incognito with his hat and his sunglasses on. It's inside, dude. It's nighttime. There's no sunshine out. All right, so he's got his bag. Probably not bringing the crack pipe since you got to go through TSA, although he's a VIP, so I don't know. Can you bring crack on commercial flights if you're Hunter? Maybe. So that's what one image looked like. We had a couple others. You can see this person looks like Secret Service who's keeping an eye on him as they're waiting in line. And here is another image as they're just about ready to board the plane. So cops and Secret Service in tow. Some funny reactions from Julie Kelly. She says, does Hunter think he's John Cusack, or what's going on here? What's happening here? Kanakoa says, Belt and Road money must be drying up, not getting any of that secret art money or something. That Ukraine money from Burisma must be gone. Marco Polo found out who this guy was. Stephen May. Found him. Says this is a nice assignment for Stephen May. Have to keep tabs on Hunter, babysitting the president's son. And so that's what it looks like as he's now traveling over to LA. And upon arrival, you can see the same Secret Service were accompanying him there. Now, I don't know what all this is about. Question is this part of his documentary? Is he going to be a man of the people? Because it appears like there was a videographer who was also filming him during his little stunt in Congress yesterday. So is this like the new footage that they need to get of Hunter traveling around like a little peon, like the little people like us? No, I fly coach like the rest of it when the Republicans are attacking me. All right. So he arrives in California and a bunch of media were there on the scene. And this is Megan Kniff. And she wrote this. She says, look, I've arrived at the federal courthouse today in downtown LA. Hunter Biden had a 1 p.m. arraignment on the tax charges. Says there's a big crowd of press, Secret Service agents, and LAPD at the entrance. And here's what it sounded like. You can see they're rolling in here. Outside the courthouse, a lot of press, and it's just kind of a pretty basic court proceeding. It's an arraignment. You show up, you know the charges. Yeah. Do you have a lawyer? Yeah. You want to plead guilty? Not guilty. You want us to read the charges? No. Okay. Here's your next court date. And usually in, high profile cases like this, things like release conditions and all that are worked out. But look at this. There's a big crowd out here. Big crowd. And we'll see what the reporting looks like, but it seems like most of them are trying to either shill for him or cover it up. Courthouse scrutiny was very strict. It was a routine arraignment. Hunter's going to enter a not guilty plea, and that's going to be it. But there are about 12 people here. Courthouse that barely ever gets covered. So a lot of people flying across the country for a 15-minute arraignment, and journalists in local newsrooms who haven't been allowed to go anywhere near a story for years. So she's there reporting on what's happening, and Hunter showed up. And so questions about yesterday was about this guy. There was a strange thing that happened here. This videographer. So first of all, this is Kevin Morris, and Catherine Herridge from CBS did a good little analysis on this and said that Kevin Morris is the guy who's been footing the bill for Hunter. And the question is that going to be a problem for him, right? Kevin Morris is this Hollywood mogul that we've talked a lot about, learned a lot about from Garrett Ziegler from MarcoPoloUSA.org. And he, like, millions of dollars have been spent from him on behalf of Hunter, and now he's working on a documentary for Hunter, and everybody's wondering why. Like, what the heck is this all about? Here is some analysis from Catherine Herridge, who asks, is the money that he's giving to Hunter, could that be considered like an exchange, right? Is that a quid pro quo thing? Are there any consequences to that? Can you just give somebody all this money?
Son explained to an IRS investigator unpaid tax could generate media attention.
What rule does that break?
Well, it seems to break some of the rules of politics.
Caleb Burns is an expert in campaign finance law. He says the money Morris gave Hunter Biden doesn't appear to meet the narrow standard for an illegal campaign contribution. Morris has not been charged with any crime.
Going forward, could the Kevin Morris money present a legal issue?
Yes, if President Biden were to take official action to benefit Mr. Morris.
In a statement, an attorney for Morris said his client has not asked for or expected anything from President Biden or his administration in return for his support of Hunter. When
Strange.
Hunter
Lots of money going to Hunter, and this Kevin Morris guy is footing the bill. And he showed up with him in Congress yesterday, and there was this interesting video from Marjorie Taylor Greene. She posted this sitting on the bench. And remember, Hunter walked in there and there were seats right there in front for him, right as he walked in. And you can see there's Abby Lowell, Hunter Biden, and Kevin Morris. And the photographers are there. Okay, these are like standard, congressional photographers. Okay, they're there. They've got their cameras and all the things. But watch this guy who comes pouring in around the corner. That guy with a full, kit there. Backpack, battery, he's got headphones on, he's got sound, audio, and he just plops right down there in front of Hunter to start video recording the little scene. Marjorie Taylor Greene flips it back around like, this is crazy. All right, so who is that guy? Is this part of the documentary? They all just got waltzed in there, and you can see that they're just filming it?
For the American people. This is at the same time that they stand by the categorical non-compliance
Hunter's wiping the
of
cocaine
Republican
off.
members of Congress, like Mr. Jordan, who have material information about the violent attack.
One moment, the cameras can.
Okay, so then Comer kicks the cameras out, and then that guy now bails. Okay, so watch him now. Like, the other guys have cameras, not a whole recording setup.
Proceed, Mr. President.
Thank you.
All right, so we don't know what that's about or what the relationship is there, but very strange, and it feels like the whole thing is part of a documentary that's going to be released, maybe right before the election. So Congress got its affairs in order. They ultimately passed the resolution to move the contempt proceedings forward. But this is what happened when Hunter showed up in court. CNN was there. Their reporters said that we covered the proceeding, and here is what it sounded like. A federal judge on Thursday, set a June trial date. Woo, that's pretty soon. It's going to get moved. I'm keeping you kind of on a tight schedule, says Judge Mark Scarcy. We like to move things along. Yeah, we'll see. The trial is scheduled to begin in June. Now, here's what happened in court today. The government prosecutor, Leo Weiss, you remember him, the same guy who tried to shoehorn in a rigged plea deal for Hunter. Remember, they were not going to want to charge him at first. They were doing everything they could to avoid criminal charges until the whistleblowers, shout out to them, came out and exposed all of this. So Leo Weiss was a part of the original plea deal that got botched. He told the court, he said, discovery in this case has already been handed over, and some discovery in the Delaware case in California, where Hunter is facing 3 gun charges, we're also going to use that in California. So, yeah, it's a common production. It's coming out of the same investigation. And Hunter's lawyer, Abby Lowell, he did not object to the dates. He said, but the dates in Delaware have not been set. So Lowell was also there. Said, Your Honor, we're going to be seeking discovery about how prosecutors changed their minds about striking a plea deal after one collapse last year. He said, we had a resolution in this case in the summer of 2023, and then things happened. Weiss shot back, arguing, well, that's not unusual. Happens all the time. Pleas fall apart all the time, says Weiss. It's true. That is absolutely true. Happens all the time. Now, Scarcy also asked the parties to look for case law dealing with congressional interference, noting that he and his clerks could only find one case related to the issue. Whatever that means. So this judge is like going to dismiss Hunter's case because of Congress? Now, Republicans in Congress have pushed to hold Hunter in contempt after he failed to show up for a subpoena, and the next hearing in California is set for March. So he showed up. Alleged charges were failing to pay more than $1 million in taxes. He made his initial appearance on Thursday. Here's some imagery. And the motorcade brought him in here, and that was that. So very quick proceeding, right? Arraignments are very quick. Set new dates, make sure that you have a lawyer, you know what the charges are, and so on. So very, in and out, not too much to report there. So new dates, March and June. I fully expect the June date to move, because why would they do this before the election? They'll find a reason to move it because it's Biden. They'll move it. So here is what happened in Congress. So while Hunter was getting arraigned on criminal charges, Congress was dealing with him for snubbing them again, a second time, embarrassing the heck out of him. And here's what they were working on in Congress. Now, I got this from the Oversight Committee. It looks like an incomplete version of this. So I'm sure what this was something they posted and then they voted on it and they filled it out. But this is what it looks like they were passing. The resolution recommending from the Oversight Committee that the House of Representatives find Hunty in contempt of Congress. Why? For failing to comply with a subpoena. Now, they tell us that this is the actual resolution. Be it resolved that the Speaker of the House shall take appropriate action to enforce the subpoena, saying, pursuant to U.S. Code, the House of Representatives shall certify the report from us, the Oversight Committee, that details the refusal of Hunty to appear for a deposition as directed by the subpoena. Now, here is the full contents of this, and a lot of this we're familiar with because we've been covering the Biden crime family for a while here. But here's the executive summary from Congress. Saying on December 13th, Hunty failed to comply with deposition subpoenas that were issued by Congress. Instead, Hunter opted to read a short, prepared statement in front of the Capitol before he fled the scene. Accordingly, Hunty has violated federal law, and he must be held in contempt of Congress, saying Hunter's testimony is critical because we're doing an impeachment inquiry into Joe and whether Joe took any official action or made any government policy changes or got any things of value for either Joe or his family, people like Hunter, in exchange. Whether Joe abused his office and the public trust, or whether he abused his office by participating in a scheme to enrich himself by engaging in foreign deals. They say the testimony that Congress seeks by the subpoenas is also relevant to the ongoing efforts to craft legislative reforms. But we're not able to do that because Biden had flagrant defiance of our subpoenas. Instead, he chose to appear on Capitol grounds to read a prepared statement on the same matters. It's contemptuous. And Hunter must be held accountable for his unlawful actions. And so accordingly, they say Congress must find Hunter in contempt. And they give us a little bit of background here. On September 27th, pursuant to the director of the speakers, we adopted draft articles of impeachment and began our investigation. We sent our depo subpoenas as part of our inquiry. However, the inquiry is not the only purpose of the deposition. We also want to look at legislative oversight. We've got a lot of things that we might propose as laws, and Congress has the constitutional authority to look into this. Now, for background, they say earlier in February of 2023, Oversight Committee launched an investigation into the Biden crime family. We got a bunch of records, and we now know that Biden and his family members got over $24 million from foreign companies, with more than $15 million received by Biden and the family and $9 million by associates. In the spring of 2023, two brave whistleblowers came into the picture. They stepped forward and they notified Congress that the DOJ had obstructed the criminal investigation into Hunter. Now, we brought them before Congress. We also learned FBI, IRS, DOJ, and many others were problematic. And we thought that this constituted grounds for impeachment of Joe. Why? Foreign money he received. Family got foreign money and foreign business entanglements. And Biden tried to slow down literally the criminal investigation of his family through the DOJ. And so we ordered Hunty to appear for a deposition. We noticed the deposition and sent it over to him. But he didn't show up. Instead, he went outside of Congress and read a statement in front of the Capitol. Now, the question that we have is that evidence that President Biden knew and participated in his business deals. And Hunter deciding to deny our subpoena now warrants and constitutes contempt of Congress and may even be appropriate for criminal prosecution of Hunter. Saying we need to know this information. We've collected hundreds of pages of documents and talked to a bunch of people. Devin Archer was involved. He described how Hunter was the brand. Archer testified instances when Joe was involved in Biden-Hunter's deals. Archer also talked about Ukraine and Cafe Milano and meetings with business oligarchs. We talked about Hunter's role in Burisma. We also got information from the CEFC in China, where Hunter wrote, "I'm sitting here with my father, and he would like to know why our money has not been sent to us." And suddenly after that text message went out, $100,000 came in. And then $5 million came in after that. And then the same day, Hunter sent $400,000 from this to his personal company. And ultimately, Joe got now $40,000 of the money. There's significant evidence to date. IRS whistleblowers have also popped up. Joe said he was not in business with his son. Doesn't look like that. Now they changed their statement, and now they say they're not financially involved in the business. And so our committee is now going to be crafting legislation that's going to increase reporting requirements. And in some, we think that the crime family from the Bidens have accumulated more than $15 million from foreign entities, and Hunter must be deposed under oath so we can determine how he enriched his family. And so we sent him a subpoena. It was all legitimate. Cover letter made it known he needed to show up. But Abby Lowell, Hunter's lawyers, responded. He said, "We're not coming to appear there for you unless we can talk in public." Now, we sent another notice, but he did not appear. Instead, a bunch of stuff happened, and we had the deposition on our own. So he didn't appear. So the committees, we got together. We introduced a statement. Chairman Comer was there, 9:30 a.m. We got a letter from Lowell to Chairman Comer, read that into the record, and the deposition concluded at 10 a.m. So they held the depo without Hunter being there. But at 9:40, after the depo was already underway at 9:58, Biden just showed up on Capitol, and he prepared his remarks where he just complained about his life. "My father loves me." Now, through his attorney, he offered several generalized and amorphous bases for not showing up. And the committee is considering a bunch of rules. And they said that we don't have authority, but we do. In fact, the House has launched several impeachment inquiries without a full House vote. We've done it many times. And 4 years ago, a federal district court expressly rejected this argument that a House resolution is required to begin an impeachment inquiry. So we were allowed to subpoena you. In no uncertain terms, Congress says Hunter has no valid reason for failing to comply, and so he flagrantly defied our request, which means he violated federal law. And saying the Supreme Court has said Congress has the power to investigate and pursue these things. And they say our committee has gotten significant evidence that President Biden profited from foreign business interests of his son Hunty. That's why we're going to depose him. But Hunty brazenly defied our subpoenas. Instead, he showed up and read a prepared statement outside on the steps of the Capitol. And his willful refusal to comply, that means this is contempt of Congress, and it warrants a referral to the U.S. Attorney's Office for prosecution as prescribed by law. Charge him! Signed and submitted to Congress. So all of this was a resolution brought before the Oversight Committee, and they passed it. So it'll move forward and work its way up to the full House floor so that Hunter can have some repercussions for flouting a congressional subpoena, just like Steve Bannon got charged for, just like Peter Navarro got charged for, and they're facing sentences and jail time, prison time. So Hunter might be seated right next to them unless there's a double standard in this country, which we know there is. So we'll see what happens with the DOJ. Here is what Jill says about this. She says, my son is under attack. Don't be so mean to him. She showed up on the Mika Brzezinski show with Joe. And here's what she said.
How have you been coping personally with the onslaught of accusations against your husband and your
of criminal charges that are legitimate, that are actually watered down, that should be much more severe?
Family, including and especially Hunter, is the focus of a House Oversight Committee hearing, holding him in contempt, obsessing over him, showing pictures of him during vulnerable moments in his battle with addiction on the floor of the House. This would crush any family.
Mika, I think what they are doing to Hunter is cruel. And I'm really proud of how Hunter has rebuilt his life after addiction. You know, I love my son, and it's hurt my grandchildren. And
why is there cocaine in the White House, Jill?
That's what I'm so concerned about, that it's affecting their lives as well.
What do you think when you hear Trump Republicans calling it the Biden crime family?
Oh, we use that hashtag all the time. It's one of my favorites.
I have one congresswoman, the Biden crime family sold out America, Marjorie Taylor Greene. He's a liar. He's mentally incompetent.
Yeah.
And let's not even talk about what Let's Go Brandon means, but you have U.S. senators holding signs that say that.
Yeah, keep going, Mika.
It's hard to realize our country, isn't it? I mean, to look at it, what we used to have, and what the other side, the extremists, have turned this country into. I mean, we would never see things like that, say, 10 years ago.
Is this what? The summer of 2020, their side was burning down police precincts in Minneapolis. Kamala Harris, their vice president, was bailing out protesters who were torching government buildings. Ted Cruz stands out by a sign, I don't recognize America anymore. What? So, yeah, Hunter has really made a full recovery, and he's making amends for his past misdeeds, which is why he's challenging everything he's ever done and blaming everybody else for all of his actual criminality, which is much more than tax crimes. Mom, Jill, get some control over your son, for crying out loud. All right, here is Comer. He lives with her still. He's like 50. He lives at the White House. That's why I say that. So here's Comer responding to the aftermath of the saga yesterday. And this is James speaking about it.
Well, I would strongly disagree with that. He showed up. He was there for about 15 minutes. Moskowitz was recognized. He said, Hunter Biden's here to answer questions. And then his time expired. I recognized Marjorie Taylor Greene. She was going to ask Hunter Biden questions because Moskowitz said he was there to answer questions. As soon as he realized Marjorie Taylor Greene was going to ask him a question, they ran out of there. They knocked over people on the way out the door. So I think the American people got to see two things. Number one, he was not there to answer questions. And number two, this is the second time that Hunter Biden has displayed in real time the arrogance and entitlement that he's had his entire life, why he thinks he can get millions and millions of dollars from our enemies around the world and then not pay taxes on it and then lie about it. Look, this is an investigation of Joe Biden. It's about what his family did to receive the millions of dollars from our enemies around the world.
All right, so that's James Comer. And he's right. It is about the Biden crime family. It's about this entire entourage of people who have a scheme in place with James Biden, with Hallie Biden, all of them just maneuvering the mechanics to get stuff done like criminals. And that's why we talk about them. So Jill Biden's having a hard time reconciling her son's a piece of work, but he is. So wake up. And we'll be here continuing to cover this, my friends. Of course, we'll see what Congress does. I like to see some momentum there, some progress, because it'll climax right around the same time that they're trying to prosecute Trump, and we'll have these two battles taking place in the summer of this year. So it should be a lot of fun. We'll be here covering it. Thanks for checking out robertgovea.com to sign up for our daily newsletter. Those get delivered to your inbox, and that makes it very easy for you to forward those to everyone you've ever met your entire life. And we appreciate you sharing the show, and they'll appreciate it too. So we'll look forward to seeing you back here on the next one, my friends, and see you then. All right, that is it for the day. We covered some good ground. Hunter arraigned, federal court appearance, contempt resolution moving its way forward. All good news there. He also, J6 committee, also colluded with Fani Willis, something we've had a lot of suspicions about. Now even Politico is confirming that, saying that a bunch of people saying there were multiple meetings. We know Nathan Wade also admits that there were 2 build meetings. And we also had Fani showing up to hang out with Kamala at the White House. We've also got Donald Trump delivering some closing arguments, taking it to Judge Engoron and to Letitia James. And we've got, of course, our after party, which is going to be taking place here in a few short minutes at watchingthewatchers.locals.com. This is our members only community. We have a lot of fun here. We do streams in the morning. We already did one today. We do streams on Saturday. Come and join us. And of course, we do after parties as well. And so if you want to join us there, grab the Telegram link, which is on the community tab section on YouTube. And we'll see you there in just a bit. But my friends, thank you for the very generous donos. Thank you for supporting our work with a super chat, with a Rumble rant, with a locals tip. Appreciate it all very much. Let's see who is in the house this morning, this afternoon, starting the day off. We got 66 Anton in the house, says, keep your weapons sharp, everybody. Talking about, I think your political acumen, really. Keep your brain power sharp so that you're prepared to combat all of the lies from the left. Good to see you, 66 Anton in the house. We've also got this one from Rocky Water, says, anytime Matthew Russell Lee at Inner City Press on X makes the show, I got a tip. Simple as that. Love the guy. He's great. Matthew Russell Lee does good work, man, and he's all over the place. So he's like courtroom to courtroom in SDNY, which is a very big courtroom. So we love Matthew Russell Lee. We got Waldo in here, bringing in new members. What's up, Waldo? So new YouTube members. Muffin Rando's here. Bernal is here. Pinochet's helicopter tours got a gift. We got Cheryl Burgess and Freed also gifted members, courtesy of Waldo, another membo. Thank you, Waldo. Thanks for bringing in more membos. Glocky McGlockface is saying, hey, Rob, remember when Tucker Carlson bought Keith's domain? No, Tucker Carlson did that? You're kidding me. Tucker Carlson, conservative news pundit Tucker Carlson, is going bananas this morning over his recent purchase of the domain keitholbermann.com. Yeah, Keith Olbermann came by yesterday and funked up our timeline on X yesterday. It was stinking up the place for like 2 hours after that. Tucker Carlson, we own you. No, I did not know that. Wow, that's pretty funny. Shout out to Tucker. Hey, Glocky says this one. Glocky sent this one in. Yeah, Rachel Maddow is not aging very well. Yeah, not looking good. It's actually kind of scary how much they look alike, actually, now that you mention it. That's funny. G.I. Joe is here, the one and only. Bringing 10 membos in. Thank you, G.I. Joe. Guess who's coming in? We've got Barbara Joe, John D. Hellstrand is here. Arnett is joining us. Sweet Tat is here. No mandates, and Not a Fed is here. So definitely Not a Fed. Catania Mama Italia, Boiler Operator, Margaret S., and Cheryl P. all coming in courtesy of G.I. Joe in the house. Thank you, G.I. Joe. 10 new membos. Welcome aboard, my friends. This one from Zach Nichols says, a lovely evening all. Here is the link to Patrick Bet David and Alida Abba convo. Her outfit is spectacular. All right, we'll take a look at that one in the after party, Knox. We got this one from John McGarvey says, I love myself. Hey, John, that's amazing. So we have, that's great, John. You should love yourself. Membo for 17 months. And there's a little bit of an inside thing happening with this comment. So what we're doing, of course, I shared with you our Watcher Lodge Fitness Challenge. And so many of you are participating in the Watcher Lodge Fitness Challenge. But we had a post today about loving yourself. And so even if you're not actually a part of the challenge, you can go, and if this sounds interesting to you, watcherlodge.com is our platform that we're building right now. And if you go to the fitness challenge, you can see that day 11, we're posting new messages every day, new updates every day about fitness and health. And this, on day 11, we talked about this meditation called the mirror meditation. And it's a very interesting one. And it's something you sit in front of the mirror and you look deep into your own eyes and you go into this exercise. And I'll leave you there. Go over to watcherlodge.com to learn about it. But it's from this book called Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It. It's an inspirational self-healing book. So if you're interested in anything like that, it's a great book and I recommend it. And there's a little meditation there. So check that out, watcherlodge.com. And John McGarvey is participating in it, kicking it off saying, I love myself, which is part of the meditation. So awesome, John. Glad you're getting it in. Zach Nichols says, I love Joe Biden. Fixed it over there from John McGarvey, giving him a nice little dunk. Well, we were talking about the I love myself thing today, and you could take that many different directions that you want to be careful with. We also got this one from Mini Wheat, says, this is an awesome shirt. Noun, Trump back whale. Yeah, a literally great whale, very huge, very special, really terrific. All other whales are total disasters. Believe me, everyone agrees. And the Trump do, man. The Trump do. Man, that would be a monstrous, that would be a really formidable, is the better word, a real formidable whale. Radice says, can we stop talking about Judge Areolas? That picture is burned into my brain. I suggest talking more about Lawyer Abba. Well, that's true. Yeah, well, it's like two sides. It's like it's like good and evil, It's like, what is good if there's not evil? It's like, what is beautiful if there's not traumatizing, It's traumatizing and beautiful. It makes having the traumatizing thing and really, the PTSD causing kind of permanent damage type of problem really makes the beauty that much more beautiful. You know what I mean? It's like yin and yang. Okay, so we got Radice. We got Rocky Water says, I asked ChatGPT to write me a poem about Engoron. There once was a judge, quite absurd, whose pride in his nipples was heard. Corruption ran deep, but justice did seep. Now stripped of his robe, he's demurred. But that's pretty good. ChatGPT's pretty good. And that's a limerick, right? There once was a judge quite absurd, whose pride in his nipples was heard. Corruption ran deep, but justice did seep. Now stripped of his robe, he's demurred. That's a better read. That's more like a limerick. Love that. Thank you, Rocky. It's, ChatGPT is pretty good. Tree Climber says, you've made judicial shenanigans very interesting. Thanks. And thank you for saying that, Tree Climber. We try to make it fun. You know, what they try to do is keep all of this stuff from being exposed. Like, there's no cameras in the courtroom. You can't even download the transcripts unless you pay $1 a page, you know, if you want them timely. Everything's behind paywalls. You got to pay 50 cents to download documents. They don't want us to see any of this stuff. And then when we do get like a news report about it, it's boring. They copy and paste stuff. It's not even interesting. So we try to show the real documents. We try to have fun, and we try to offer some analysis and keep it interesting so that we keep on coming back. And thank you for that, Tree Climber. Here's Chubby, says, the fact that the judge has a gaggle of photographers funnel in for publicity shots every time before he starts the proceedings exemplifies how this is just a show trial, a farce being perpetrated on the people. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. Well, and you remember the one of his where like he took his glasses off? There's the one where like he took his glasses off. He's like, hey. In fact, let me see if I have that real fast. I think I just bookmarked that like not too long ago. So let me see if I can just grab that one real fast. Because Engoron, he's just like thrilled with this whole scam. And did I save that? Let me scroll. Give me 10 seconds, and if I don't have it, then we'll just move on. And, you know, X has been having some video playback problems as well. So hopefully the video works if I even do have it. Come on, Rob. Come on. Did you have it? It's not looking good. It's not looking good. Okay, so that's it. I gave myself enough time. And we don't have it. All right, I thought I did. Are we sure we don't have it? Yeah, pretty sure we don't. Yeah, but he took his glasses off, and it was all just a weird show thing. So thank you, Chubby, for that. We'll try to dig it up later. Hey, Knox is here, says, I had to do some itemizing for the county today. Knox is a lawyer in Texas. Says, we bill down to the 0.1 hour. I keep thinking of Wade's billing and laughing myself off the chair. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. He just wrote 8 hours trial prep. Okay. He's billing the government. The government's like, yeah, that sounds good. Whatever. It's Fani. They say, Fani, what is this bill? She's like, well, thinking in the back of her head, I need to go out for a nice steak tonight. I really want a nice dinner tonight, so I'll prove it. What's up? Dolphin Fan is the man in the house, bringing in new membos. Dolphin Fan, we got Scott P coming in, Drifter S, Mark M, Anonymous is here, and Mr. Twister, courtesy of Dolphin Fan is the man. Thank you, Dolphin, for bringing in the newest of membos. Tony Hay, what's up, Tony Hay? Also bringing in new membos. Tree Rogie, Jop L, the old bag is here. Chris S, David H, Heavy G, SCVM, Wheezy Bob, and Zach Guy, all in the house. Thank you to Tony Munkets, bringing them in the house. We've got Freedom Forever says, we the people stand with Trump. No doubt about that. And I think there are more joining the party. Glenn Croy, a baby in the house. 9 months for Glenn Croy, the newest baby in the house. It's going to be a fighter. Salty Army loves watching the watchers. Well, shout out to our Salty Army friends. It's very good to see you, Glenn Croy. And it's nice to see you in the chat. We love you back. Thanks for being here and for joining us on this day. We got Glocky. Glocky's on local, says they are prosecuting Trump so Republicans won't be able to vote for their candidates and instead be able to install someone like Haley. I guarantee you, if Haley was the Republican nominee, Democrats would line up to get her elected over Biden. That's how they'll get rid of Biden. You think so? How would Haley, if they put Haley over Trump, that's kind of it for the Republican Party, right? Or Trump runs third party, and that's probably it. Yeah, I don't know. Vivek is making that same point. He's saying that it's going to be Ron, it's going to be Haley, Ron, and they're going to try to do something with Trump. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know mechanically how they're going to do it, but you know what? They don't really care about the law. Like, they just threw him off the ballot in Colorado, and Maine said that's a great idea. So you never would have thought, last year that would ever happen, but here we are. We got CF Rob says, Representative Jayapal today said that Trump has been convicted of 91 felony counts. Did she say that? She's kind of dumb. I've always said Democrats, aka criminals, believe indictments are criminal convictions. Indictments are accusations. Yeah, you're right about that. And there's a lot, there's a lot of words in criminal law. Felony, indictment, conviction, sanction, contempt. Like, what do all these words mean? She's a representative. She should know better. He hasn't been convicted of anything. And these people forget about this. It's called the presumption of innocence. Okay, our news media has forgotten all about that. Donald Trump still has that. The burden of proof is on the government. The standard is beyond a reasonable doubt. All of these things default towards Trump. They don't care. We got this one from Glocky. Haley, which isn't even her real name, it's Nimarata, went all in on banning Confederate flags and bad-mouthing Southern heritage while praising BLM and even tweeted support for Bubba Wallace and the whole fake news story. What do you think she would do to the rest of America? She also wants war. I mean, she loves Ukraine, says that Hamas was doing that for Putin's birthday. You're like, are you nuts? Wants to have everybody on the interwebs document who they are. I want names. I want your full name so that you can't, criticize her on X and elsewhere. She's an authoritarian and an institutionalist, just like the rest of them. Hey, GOP, says Glocky, is absolutely worthless. Why Trump didn't team up with people like Vivek and Tucker and Tulsi and form a third party is something I won't understand. He had a huge chance to permanently blow up the political system forever. Yeah, I think it's just, the GOP still is the other party. Like, there's two parties. I agree that if there was going to be a third party run, maybe there will be. We might still be in that. Maybe something weird happens. I know we got deadlines and stuff coming up. So maybe Trump can't run third party anymore. But what happens if they do something, try to remove him or try to disqualify him or something? I don't know. I'm not putting it past the Republican Party at all. They might pull some shenanigans. I think it would be the death of the Republican Party, but you never know. Glocky, thanks. We got Chubby's here, says Hunter is in my neck of the woods now. I've heard Los Angeles had a sudden coke deficit and unverified reports of Secret Service seen sweeping working girls off 27th and Figueroa. Is that your street there in LA? Here it's Van Buren, right down here. It's not too far from here. So yeah, Van Buren, 27th and Figueroa. You know the neighborhood. I know the neighborhood too, just because not for any real. I'm not Hunter Biden or anything, just because I have to go by there. But yeah, there's probably going to be a surge in demand for cocaine and illegal prostitution. Hey, what's up, Knox? Says Nikki Haley was an actress. It's true. Is that true? This is from IMDb. Yeah, look at this. Nikki Haley's on IMDb. Nikki Haley was born January 20th in South Carolina. She's an actress known for Army Wives, PBS NewsHour, and Bad Reputation. She's been married to Michael since September 6th, 1996. Isn't that interesting? Okay, so Nikki Haley is an actress on top of it all. Go figure. Thanks, Knox. We got this one from R. Taylor, says, those Democrats stole my vote, Ron. So I guess you're saying screw Trump and his voters? OMG, he's so dense. These two are as sleazy as Liz Cheney. Yeah, I think their statements are totally disqualifying. It's like they're forgetting one of the biggest issues in the whole country. Sandy's here, says, you said Secret Service was accompanying Hunter. That was DC Metro. Lately, Secret Service has not actually been seen for any Biden. Careful scrutiny. Yeah, I don't know who those people were officially. I did see some cops in there, and then I thought I saw some undercover people, but who knows who they were. Art Taylor says, so what's worse than Nikki and a Ron ticket? A Gavin Nancy ticket. Nancy Pelosi? That's not going to happen. But a Gavin somebody, like a Gavin, I was thinking a Clinton Gavin, because they were down in Mexico. Seriously, Joe said his two favorite people are Gavin and Nancy, not to mention the two whitest white people in America. Yeah, Gavin and Nancy, that's a good point. Glocky says, okay, we just went to war with Yemen. No congressional declaration. Just the Pentagon and Biden deciding on doing a massive military operation. Just started about 15 minutes ago. Oh, good. Yeah, and I think Iran is going to be involved too. I think we're going to start, I think Iran just took back a ship that they say we took from them. And so we'll probably be in full-blown war, any minute now. So Jia Zhang, 23 months. Oh my goodness, Jia. That's a lot of time. Almost 2 full years. Thank you for being a member for so long. And so that's like, man, what a different world it was 2 years ago, wasn't it? Says Joe did not have biz relations with Hunter. I did not have business relationships with my son. Joe. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. And your daughter too in the shower. So strange. Yeah, very strange. Jia Jiang, 23 months. That is definitely 2 babies and then some. Oh, here's a new portrait of Jill Biden. Looking good. Looking good. Like she's going to rock on out there. This old guy says, OMG, Jill, Hunter is not 12 years old. He's not a child. I wouldn't be happy, but if one of my sons pulled 10% of what Hunter has, I'd tell him, I'll help you where I can, but you really need a good attorney at this point. I mean, he does. And he's got, he's got a bunch of lawyers now. So that's about right. But they treat him like he's like an 18-year-old. Stop picking on Hunter. He didn't know anything. Hey, Don S. is here, says, dang it, Robert, you had to start streaming when I was busy. Now I got to go catch up. This ought to be a juicy one, LOL. Thanks, Don. Hey, sorry, we had to start. We had to. Everybody was, like, let's go, Rob. Let's go. Get the show on the road. So I'm glad you're here. I'm glad that you're going to be able to catch up on it. Listen on double speed. You'll be caught up in no time. Sam O is in the house. What's up, Sam O? Thanks for the dono, my friend. No question, but thanks for sending it in. I appreciate you. We have this from C. John. 10 membos. We got a bunch of membos coming in, so don't forget to go to the community tab section on YouTube. Grab the Telegram link. We'll see you there. We've also got Poppet. Hello, Poppet. That one? Max Vaughan. Tina C. We got Rory M. LMC. RF. Snake Plissken is here. Jim, is that Escape from LA? Jim Gerard. Albert White. And also Dennis S. coming in, courtesy of C. John, bringing in 10 of the newest membos in the house. Hey, Pinochet's helicopter tour says, apologies if you went over this, but can you clarify for the unlawyerly normie like me the implications of White House J6 Georgia collusion? Also, thanks to Waldo for the membo, I think it was. Well, so the question, the question is like, where did the evidence come from? So did the government go and find the evidence like in the jurisdiction of Georgia? Did they do their own investigation? Because we're asking really about the reliability of the evidence. Like, because when you're going to do a criminal case, everything has to meet the criminal case standard. We're not talking about beyond a reasonable doubt. You now have chain of custody issues like, what did this witness say? Were they subject to, are they available for an interview? Like, where did all the data come from? And we talk about chain of custody. So a good example might be like a DUI case. In a DUI case, cops draw your blood. Sometimes there's multiple people involved, depending on where the blood is drawn. You can have one person who draws the blood, one person who transports the blood, one person who impounds the blood, all the things. So if like Liz Cheney did all of that, if she got all the blood and all the stuff like that, and then just handed it all over to the state, that's not reliable as far as I'm concerned. Okay, Liz Cheney doesn't work in Georgia. She's not qualified according to Georgia law to go test the blood. She's not a part of this case at all. It's an entirely different jurisdiction. And so my argument would be that all that blood has to go away because it's not within this prosecution. It's her prosecution. So that's kind of an extreme example, but it's a lot of that. It's the evidence that they've gathered it's not reliable. It came from Liz Cheney in a process that is a legislative process. It's not a criminal investigative process. And so we've got different standards. And so I would say the evidence is bad and it's not admissible. Like you can't use it because it didn't come from. Now they would respond and say, well, we got it independently from independent sources. And we would have found it anyways. And they didn't give us anything material and all that. So it could lead to something or it could not. But my point is, Fani told to us that there was a legitimate investigation that she did. And She didn't rely on them. It was all from her office. Obviously, that's not true. Jaz here says, I was being sarcastic with my Membo comment. I totally got it. It was a great comment. I did not have business relationships with my son. Joe, you did. Yeah, you did. Hey, this one, best shirt. I wish Hillary. Oh gosh, we got this one. We got this one from Pinochet. Says, I find it unreasonable to believe these folks would brazenly operate like this and not expect to be scrutinized. It is pretty idiotic, if I had to say so. It is pretty idiotic, no doubt. Star Redemption says, I'm so disgusted by our leaders, but I do know that President Trump does have the receipts. The ballot box surveillance video, they've got over 40 million of them. Well, I hope we start seeing it soon. Star Redemption. I did see Trump put out the fraud document, and I'm sure more will be revealed. We're going to see if the case goes to trial, and hopefully we see a lot more evidence. Tony Hay bringing in Andy F. Sean is here. Christine H. Lone Star Medic. We've got Kitchen Mortician all coming in courtesy of Tony Hay Munkets in the house. And Trump apparently just posted this one from Star Redemption from Letitia James. Those are her visits over to the White House, and we covered that on the show. And let's see what else we've got on the X platform and see where that one is coming in. Our friends on the X, before we wrap it up and go over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com. On X, who is watching us here today? We've got 11 viewers. That's double digits. Not too bad. Okay, so we've got Jeffersonian says Trump is our modern day Maximus Decimus Meridius. Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Michael says, I heard you said you wanted to try wood carving when you retire. If you're interested in either violin or guitar making, I can help you with that as well. Dang, Michael, that's advanced. I was thinking like a stool. Probably only 3 legs because I couldn't try figure out 4. George said, but thank you for that. I mean, it's a really nice compliment. You must be extremely talented, man, to make violins and guitar, like to actually make it make a sound. I was like, probably could make it support some weight. The Meme Kings need you to meme a Superman outfit. What's your superpower? Sarcasm. You make this crap stuff entertaining. Thank you, George, for saying that. They're definitely making a documentary. Fred says, Rob, I know you don't like to hear this, but these judges, Engoron especially, they cannot have this type of power. This is blatantly biased, etc. And it simply cannot be allowed. Well, they're elected. I mean, they're the ones. It's their power. It's their courtroom. So they can, tell they're not there anymore. They've got it. And so, okay, my friends, that is it for us on the day. Thank you for our X followers. You can follow us at Rob Govea ESQ on the X platform. We are going to wrap it up. Head on over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com for our members only after party. We do members only streams in the morning. We do Saturday streams as well. Come and sign up. Come and join us. And YouTube members, join us on Telegram. Grab the link from the community tab section on the YouTube channel. Before we wrap it up, let's say thank you to our mods and our amazing meme smiths who keep this show nice and orderly and on track. We got Zach Nichols clipping away for us today. We got Vianticus Prime, K Bean, Just Cause, Playing Hooky, Ronnie Cole, our friend Zulu, Beyond Geo, Zach Nichols clipping for us hard today. Thank you, Zach. John Allen, Janek 909, and Dog Digger in the house. I see Vianticus is also clipping away for us. Thank you, V. And so don't mind me modding down the fort for us. Our meme smiths, Jigam Geegum, Nathan N810, and Sleepy Dog Lee, keeping things nice and orderly around here. But that, my friends, is it for us on the day. We are going to be back here tomorrow to get into it all again on a lovely Friday. We're going to see what the day has in store for us, and we need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Tomorrow is Friday. We'll see you right back here. Until then, make it a great night. Bye-bye, everybody.